Today, we are opening up the essential blueprint for nonprofit growth.
Mm-hmm.
Every organization has that dream, right? The new hospital wing, expanded services, that one big mission-defining moment.
Absolutely.
But turning that into reality, well, that takes capital. So our deep dive mission today is to figure out the exact path from dreaming to funding. We are entering the world of major gift fundraising.
It really is the engine of scale. And, it's often the most misunderstood part of the work. We've synthesized a guide to cover, well, basically everything you need to start and maximize a major gifts program.
So we're talking best practices, FAQs, the works.
Exactly. The step-by-step for how to actually solicit that critical funding.
Okay, let's jump right in, because the first thing that jumps out from the source material is maybe the most surprising part.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Before you can get a major gift, you have to define it. And there are no hard and fast rules.
Not at all. The answer is beautifully subjective.
What is a major gift?
It's entirely up to the organization. What's major to a small community center might be, pocket change to a huge research institution. Your definition has to be relative to your scale.
So you can't just copy the nonprofit down the street.
You'd be setting yourself up for failure.
So how do you avoid just, pulling a number out of thin air? How do you land on a standard that's both ambitious and achievable?
Well, you need a set standard, and the sources give us 5 solid ways to establish one. And the key thing is you have to review it every single year.
Okay, let's break those 5 down.
The first one's the most common. It's just a straight dollar amount. You look at your typical donation, let's say it's $25.
Right.
Then maybe $1,000 is a major gift for you. If your average is $10,000, maybe $100,000 is your number.
Makes sense. What's number 2?
Number 2 is based on a percentage of donations. So you just draw a line and say the top 5% or maybe the top 1% of gifts we get. Those are major gifts.
That feels very data-driven. But the third one seems more strategic, transformational impact.
It is. This one forces you to connect the money directly to your mission. You have to ask, how big does a gift need to be to make a truly substantial difference?
So if you need a new building that costs $5 million.
Exactly. Then a major gift might be anything over $500,000 or 10% of that critical cost. You're defining the gift by the impact it will have.
That has to make it easier to ask for, because you're not just selling a number, you're selling a vision.
You're selling a piece of the future.
Right. Okay, what are the last 2?
Fourth is defining it as a stretch for the constituency. This takes a bit of analysis, kind of like a feasibility study, to figure out what your current donors are actually capable of giving. It's about finding a reasonable stretch amount.
And the 5th one I love. It's so clever. The emotional response.
It's great psychological insight, isn't it?
Yeah.
The question is just, at what dollar level would the staff literally stop working to celebrate? Pop a bottle of sparkling cider, give the fundraiser a day off.
That's fascinating. It uses staff morale as a financial benchmark. It grounds the idea of major in actual human excitement, not just a spreadsheet.
It connects the goal to the culture. If $5,000 makes your whole team jump for joy, then maybe that's it. That's your number.
Okay, so defining the amount is half the battle. The sources really stress that you also have to define the delivery.
What counts?
Right. What actually counts toward that major gift threshold?
You have to decide up front. Does it include multi-year pledges?
Yeah.
Someone promises $100,000, but it's $20,000 a year for 5 years.
Which usually it does, right?
Usually, yes,
Yeah.
but you have to have a policy.
Yeah.
Then there are the really complex ones. Planned gifts, bequests, annuities, and of course, gifts in kind. A boat, a piece of land, shares in a business. Does that count?
And the trick there is valuation and timing, I assume. It's not immediate cash.
Exactly. If someone gives you land, you need a policy for how you value it and how you count it toward that year's goal, knowing you might not see the cash until you sell it. Getting that clear saves so many accounting headaches.
Great. So we've set the goalposts. Now, who are the prospects?
Primarily, you're looking at individuals or family units, but the important thing to remember is that this person often controls business or foundation assets, and to them, it's all one big bucket of giving.
And to find them, we use the CIA method.
Yes, not the spy agency. It's capacity, interest, and access. You need all 3. If even one is missing, a gift is really unlikely.
So capacity is first. They have to have the means.
For a major gift, it's the absolute starting point. But interest, the I, that's where the magic happens. A donor who truly loves your mission will stretch way beyond what you expect.
So the sources suggest something a little counterintuitive. They say it's actually better to start by finding people with high interest because some of them are bound to have capacity. Why not just start with the wealthiest people?
Because wealth doesn't guarantee passion for your cause.
Hmm.
You can find the richest person in town, but if they only care about saving owls and you run a food bank, you have zero interest. There's no relationship to build.
Right.
Passion is what drives the biggest personal investments.
And access is just having a way to actually connect with them.
Just a connection point, email, a mutual friend, some way to get in the room.
So with that CIA framework, you can build your ideal donor profile.
Exactly. You start detailing characteristics, location, what kind of events they attend.
It's like when you buy a new car, and then you suddenly see that model everywhere. This exercise trains your brain to spot prospects you would missed.
It totally does, but a quick warning here, the profile is a guideline. A 75% fit is great. And never forget the lesson from books like The Millionaire Next Door Made Your Wealth is often hidden.
Don't judge a book by its cover, or a donor by their car.
Exactly. You might have major prospects right under your nose who live very modestly.
Okay, so we've identified them, we've profiled them. Now comes the moment of truth. The ask.
Yeah.
The simple answer is, well, you ask.
Right.
But the biggest barrier isn't the donor, it's the person asking. It's that feeling of being in a less powerful position, like you're begging.
That feeling is so corrosive. If you feel like you're begging, the whole relationship is already off balance. But there's a mindset shift, and it comes with a formula that's really easy to remember. 1, 2, 14, 1.
1 to 1 for 1. Okay, how does that shift the perspective?
The solicitation has to be 1-to-1. It's a partnership. You and the donor are equals. They bring the resources. You bring the opportunity for impact.
So it's not begging because
Because the ask isn't for your benefit. It's not even for the nonprofit's benefit, really. It's for the end constituent, the person who receives the services.
Okay. So the formula is the solicitor and the donor working together for that third person. It completely levels the playing field.
It changes the entire conversation. You're not saying, can you give us money? You're saying, can we work together to solve this problem for this community? The donor becomes a partner, a hero, not a wallet.
That reframe is huge. Okay, let's talk about building a full program. It has to be supported by clear goals, powerful messaging, and a vetted list of CIA prospects.
And that leads right into the fundraising cycle. The 4 basic steps: identifying, engaging, soliciting, and stewarding.
We've touched on identifying, but how deep does that prospect research really need to go?
It needs to be pretty thorough. You want high confidence data. You always start internally with your board, your staff. Have them mark up lists with C, I, and A.
Starting with your own network first.
Always. Only after that should you move to professional prospect research databases. And when you do, think broadly. You never know someone's hidden history. The CEO who funds heart research might have a deep personal passion for literacy because of a family experience you know nothing about.
So you look for that hidden affinity. Once they're identified, it's engagement and cultivation, building the industry.
Yep. This is a sequence. You start with a casual introduction, coffee, lunch. Then you invite them to become an insider. Give them a tour. Let them meet a program manager.
You want to make them a partner in the mission, not just a spectator.
That's the goal. Give them unique access.
Which brings us back to the ask. How do you avoid asking for too little, which isn't taken seriously, or too much, which just alienates them?
It's a strategic calculation. You look at their enthusiasm for the project. You look at their gifts to other similar nonprofits. That's a great baseline.
So their past giving is a good predictor.
A very good one. You also factor in their community position, other indicators of wealth-like assets, and really importantly, their life stage.
The empty nester phenomena.
Exactly. Parents whose kids are out of college often have more disposable income and are ready for major philanthropy. You have to factor all of that in to land on the perfect number.
Okay, and the final step, the one that often gets overlooked in the rush for the next dollar, stewardship.
It's such a critical mistake to neglect it. Great stewardship is what leads directly to the next great gift. It's the long game.
So what does great stewardship actually look like?
It starts simple. Say thank you, promptly and often. A handwritten note, a personal call. But the real magic is showing them the results of their caring.
So connecting them to the impact.
Yes. If they funded a new teacher, send them photos from the classroom. Share letters from the students. You have to validate their investment.
I love the idea of getting the accounting staff to send a report showing exactly how the money was spent. That's real transparency.
It is. You're treating them like a true shareholder in the mission's success. That builds loyalty that lasts for years.
So this whole system really depends on three core requirements. First, effective major gifts officers, or MGOs.
And they are, first and foremost, relationship builders. They don't have to be extroverts, but they have to be great listeners and keep amazing records. Their success comes from a sincere commitment to the mission.
Requirement two,
Hmm.
technology. You can't run this on sticky notes.
Absolutely not. A solid donor database is the heart of the whole operation, and a generic business CRM just won't cut it. You need nonprofit-specific software.
Why is that so important? Can't any CRM track contacts?
It's because of the complexities. A nonprofit system correctly handles multi-year pledges, gifts in kind, and this is the really technical part, the present value calculations on planned gifts.
Okay, explain that.
A promise of $1 million in 20 years isn't worth $1 million today for accounting purposes. Specialized software does that complex math correctly so your projections are accurate. A business CRM just isn't built for that.
I see, that makes it essential. And the third requirement,
Strategic training resources.
training is non-negotiable, right? Few people just start out as MGOs.
It's essential. It has to cover the basic CIA, the cycle, but also advanced stuff like changing tax laws. Major donors have sophisticated questions.
And the sources also point to self-knowledge, like understanding your own personality type to be more effective.
The internal work is just as important. And, if you connect all this back to the big picture, over 70% of all American philanthropy comes from individuals. It's a huge number.
So nonprofits that ignore major gifts are leaving a massive amount of community engagement and mission fuel just sitting on the table.
They really are. Major gifts allow the people you serve to get the services they truly deserve.
And since the definition of a major gift should be reviewed and hopefully raised every year, the true measure of a program's strength isn't just this year's total.
It's how much higher that definition needs to be next year.
Think about how this knowledge can transform your mission.